And welcome back to redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey, and in today's tutorial we're going to explore the arrow stitch in which your stitches form an arrow. This is a scarf that Daniel did, and during a live show a fan came up to me and says, have you ever heard of the arrow stitch? So I put it to Daniel's expertise, basically told him to find me this stitch and then find an example of it. And so what he did is he found a pattern on redheart.com. It's called the Iran heart throw, and I'll provide a link in the more information for that particular throw, but this stitch is actually in that pattern. So in actual fact, Daniel actually taught me how to do the stitch. So you have lots of different variations when it comes to this particular stitch. You can put like gapping spaces like single crochet or double crochet in between if you liked your arrows to be separated, but in my case what I just did is I kept doing the arrows, and this looks very much like cabling, and you can see it's like bam 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 all the way up. So in today's tutorial I'm going to give you the magic number for being able to do the stitch count, just in case you would like to do an afghan or a scarf in any of your sizes that you wish. I'm going to arm you with that information. I'll provide that in the link in the more information of this video as well. In today's tutorial we're going to be using Red Heart Heads Up, and it's a brand new line. It's meant for heads, and you can see when I'm using this yarn is very unusual. It's not the standard super saver that you might be thinking about. It has warm properties, so it's 20% wool and 80% acrylic. So when we're working on these stitches together, you're going to be noticing that we're going to be having what is like a cabling effect, and you can see I just slipped my fingers in behind. So what we're going to be doing, in one direction we have to crochet in a unique way, and then when we come the other way it's going to be flat on the back, and we're going to be positioning it in a way that this cables automatically pop out the other side. If you've done stitchcation with us, you'll notice those kind of things on popcorn stitches or any other stitches where the pattern is only on one side. This is one of those. So of course me and my diagrams, I just decided to make a diagram to show myself how to do this, and what we have is that we're going to be coming along and chaining, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start off and do the treble. So we're going to reach all the way over there and then come back and then double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, and then immediately treble again all the way over here, and then come back and then double double double, and we do that all the way. In my particular pattern today I've done it so that there is a chain on one side always and a double crochet sitting by itself, and this will allow the project to be a lot easier to manipulate when you're going back and forth, that you will have a stable idea. So pretend it's like a bowling alley. These are the gutters, and basically everything of the zigzagging appears in between the gutters. Nice description, right? So okay, let's get your chain ready right now. So here's some information that you're going to need to create the size that you want. So here is the information. So you're going to have sets of 4. So one arrow takes one set of 4. So when you're crocheting along and you want an afghan of a certain size, maybe twin, double, and you're going in a certain direction, you want to always keep in sets of 4. So let's begin to do that. Let's create a slip knot. And do you see how this yarn is very different? It's a lot more plies to it, and it's a lot thicker. It's chunky weight. So we're just going to, and by the way my needle is a 5. It's a little small, but it works for me today. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to keep it in sets of 4. Remember, this does not count as 1. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it big enough? And then you have to decide. If not, let's do it again. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in pattern books you will see keep it in sets of multiples, and those multiples are a certain number. In this case it would be 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and keep getting bigger until you get to the size you want. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So at the very end, when you have your chain complete, what you have to do is add an additional 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and that's where you're going to stop at this point. So here's the gutters on the outside. You just don't see it yet because it is a flat line, but when we start manipulating it we're going to create our first gutter. So what we want to do is that we want to treble crochet the 7th from the hook. So we count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and right where that is our first. So the treble we're going to wrap and wrap and go into that chain. It's the 7th, and we're just going to pull through. We will have 4 loops on our hook, and we're just going to pull through 1, or pull through 2, 2, and 2, and get all the way back up. So this, I'm pulling it in a way that it makes it look like it's going to be on an angle, but you could be in a certain way that you think it's 2 up like this, but just pull it like this. So what I need you to do is that I need you to count back. So you have 1 stitch, 2 stitch, and 3 stitch. That is where you're going to start. And when we start the first line, it's really a pain. I will not deny that to you. What you need to do is that you need to bend this yarn forward to get this out of your way, and just keeping an eye on where it is, 1, 2, 3, and just wrap and then go behind that line and just go into the double crochet. It is not a big deal on the other rows. On the first one, it's a pain. I'm not going to deny that to you, and you're going to double crochet. It's just because you have to manipulate it. So you have your first one in, and so you're going to double crochet the remaining 2. So you're always going to double crochet 3 times in a row. So this is 2, and then your next chain is still available, and then the next one that you run into is the one that is going to go across. So I'm just trying to keep my tutorials seriously here and make it easy for you. So once we have our 3 done, we're going to start another arrow. So to do the arrow, it's a treble. So we're gonna wrap and wrap, and this time we count over 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's where we go. And we just reach over and just pull through 2, 2, and 2. Okay, so now you see all this gapping space. Again, we have to come in behind. Remember on stitchcation, when we have certain things that are happening on the front side, we have to come in behind because it's going to make the flat or the back flat. So we're going to just look for the empty stitches that you missed. So you have 1, 2, and 3. So you just immediately just pull this forward and just go for the first one. On the rest of these rows, it's a lot easier. It's this chain that has to manipulate and keep it organized, and I noticed that when Daniel was actually teaching me. So this is one of the very few times that Daniel has actually taught me a stitch, which is a really nice feeling, I have to say. So we have one more left before we're done. So we have 3 double crochets in. Okay, and basically this is what it's looking like at this point. So you don't see much of an arrow, but we're starting and we have half of one side done. So I'm going to keep on going. So we now have our 3 double crochets in. You can see the arrow. So again, we start the next one. So we wrap and wrap, and again we miss 4. So sorry, go to the 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then that's where you put in your first treble. And you will see, even if you want to fast forward just because you don't believe me, it's actually easy to do the rest of the rows. So then we count back, so 1, 2, and 3, and that's where we start off with your double crochet by coming in from behind, so that the one that's the treble is staying in front of your project. And we just double crochet 3 times, which is the 3 chains that we've skipped over. That's why it's in sets of 4. Okay, so let's start again, and we're just going to wrap and wrap, and so we got 1, 2, 3, and 4. We skip to the 4th, like so. So we're just trebling, and then we just come in the front, just push it forward, and just come in behind. So we get those 3 that we've missed with the double crochet. Can you imagine having to write this kind of pattern out? Having to explain all that? That would be crazy. But it is doable, and it's a great stitch, it really is. So we have now all of our arrows in. We just have one more stitch left on your hook, or on your chain, sorry, and we just double crochet the final in. And that's your other gutter, as we talked about. So this one is the hardest row of them all. It's the very beginning, and now it becomes easier. So let's begin to review, and let's do the other way going backward, because it's slightly different than what you've just done. To begin the next row, we're just going to turn around, and we're going to create our first gutter, which is our chaining of 3 going up. So 1, 2, and 3, and this row is easier. So what you can do, you have 2 choices here. You can either go into the whole gapping space like I did. Daniel and I kind of experimented, and I went into a gapping space which created these big holes, which is a nice kind of lacy effect. He did not. So he has more of a closed in look, but you can still see some holes slightly, but it's more closed in. You can decide what works for you. Either way, it's going to be okay. So what I would do, I'm going to show you the way that I just did by going into this whole gapping area. So we're going to treble into that gap space. Okay, so this treble has to appear on the opposite side, because that's where the good side is. So this side, when we do the 3 that we've just skipped, we're going to come in from the front. So we're going to push that treble in behind, so that it appears all on one side. and we just get the 3 stitches that we skipped over. See, so it appears flat on the other side, but in actually the other side we now have our first arrow. So what you can just do now is that once you have that complete, we're going to start our next arrow. So we just wrap and wrap, go to your next gap. Wrap and wrap and go to the next gap. How do you like that, folks? So we're going to do that, and then we just immediately come into the stitches from the front. Okay, so we just kind of push that treble in behind. So the next row is going to be an interesting row. You can either put separation gapping spaces, or you can keep going. So now that you have your 3 in, you're immediately going to go for your next treble. So I kind of like going into the gapping spaces. It saves time, but it creates kind of a lacy effect if you're really wanting to do a nice kind of cabling effect if you're doing that, right? So that's basically a creator's choice on what you want to do. You know, I learned from a good friend lately is that you can stick your hook anywhere you want to stick your hook as long as you're consistent, and it makes it kind of fun and easy if you just experiment with what's going on, right? So we have one more to do, so we're gonna wrap and wrap, and I go right into this space here because that's the end of that grouping, and I want to show you what to watch for on that side. So we're immediately just gonna come around and just do the front. And when I say the front, I'm just meaning I'm pushing the treble backward so that it appears on one side. Daniel had a recommendation too that the stitch actually looks better in darker colors. That's just his choice. He's a color expert, so he says. So now that you have your 3 in, so this is your final. So what we need to do is go right into a chain itself. Don't go into this gap because you've already done that. So just go right into the side of the chain and finish it off with the double crochet. And now let's turn our work. And now you can see that the arrows are happening. So you have some choices that you can make. You can either start with the next arrow, just like you've seen here, like you saw in my example. I was kind of like one on top of each other, like this. Or in this case, because I've already shown you that, you can just do a single crochet, half double, double, doesn't matter, because the stitch counts haven't changed. So I'm going to chain up 1 and just put a single crochet going across. So this particular stitch is really easy to maintain as long as you never change the stitch counts, right, as you're going all the way across. So you can either go into a gap space or you can go into a chain. You know, this is creator's choice. That's one thing I love about the stitch. Very versatile as we go all the way across. And I'm just kind of keeping an eye on my stitch numbers as I'm making sure I'm getting 3 single crochets on top before hitting one of those trebles. And if you don't miss your counts, then everything will turn out perfect each and every time. So I'm just completely going across. So 2. So I'm actually kind of counting in my brain. Of course, this is on top of that treble, and remember we have an edge here, so don't forget to finish it off and go into the chain as well. So let's begin to do the next row. So I'm going to turn it around, and oh, look at this, we're looking at it. How are we going to figure out what is going on? Well, because we're going in a different direction, we have to be conscientious that the direction that we're going, we have to be conscious what side of the treble we're going to play on. So because we're looking at the opposite side here, the treble that we're going to make here has to appear on the opposite side, so away from you. So let's begin. Let's chain up our gutter. So 1, 2, and 3 to start, and then we treble. So we just count over. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can kind of clearly look up 2 and actually make it make sense as well. So you might want to count the first one just to get your bearing straight. So 1, 2, 3, 4 from there. Now this is the treble, so if I pull it to this side, it's going to be on the wrong side. So when I start my doubles, I want to make sure that I'm coming from the front. So it's just one of those patterns. You just have to be conscientious on where you're playing with the stitches. Where do you want the final to look? And once you get your 3 in here, you treble again. So again, look over 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go to the 4th. And then we come back on the front side to do the doubles. So I really think this is kind of a really fun stitch. I can see this in large afghans pretty easily. I think it's kind of a neat idea, and it's something kind of fancy that you can do with solid colors as well. So let's treble. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do you notice that when I count that, you see that this one here is the treble, so you got to make sure you do skip that. It looks like it's part of it, but it's not. It's part of the other stitch, and I'll show you that again in just a second. So I'm just double crocheting now. Okay, so I'm just doing my final there before resetting. So see how this stitch here, it's pulled like it's part of this on the other side. You can actually see it. So when you count 1, 2, 3, and 4, and when I get all the way back across, I can see that, oops, that was not a treble. Make sure we do treble when we do that. So wrap and wrap. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Your eyes will get trained to look at that without really having to put too much effort to counting. And again, we want to push it so it's in behind. So we're coming in from the front. And then of course we have to complete the gutter. So we have to create that side, so make sure that you double crochet right into the side of the chain that we started up with on the other row. So we're just double crocheting into the chain. Okay, so let's turn our work. So you can see that the arrows are here, and we're about to start another arrow. So I'm going to show you that one more time, going across. So to begin the arrow with the trebles facing toward us, which is where the arrow appears, we're going to start up the next row. So we're going to go chaining of 3 to start. So okay, so remember what I said, you can either go into the top here or you can go into the gapping spaces. You just have to commit to whatever you want to do. I decided to go into the gapping space, so I'm going to wrap and wrap to create my first treble. It's kind of easier to see if you ask me. And then this treble has to appear in front, so just bend it forward and just get the ones that are in behind. See how much easier that was compared to that chain that I started off with? I told you that chain is the hardest part. But once you get beyond that chain, this project I think would whip up pretty fast. Okay, so once you get that done, you got your 3 treble, and then just go for the next gap, or you can go for that same stitch. Okay, that's the same as jumping over 4. Again, pull it forward, come in from behind, and double crochet the remaining 3 that are in behind. So I think this is going to be a really cool idea. You can play around with the ideas of putting more gapping spaces between the arrows. You can change the colors of your arrows as well. You can have a lot of fun with this particular pattern. Daniel really liked it, and it's when he likes something, it's not necessarily he doesn't like something very easily, so I think that gives a lot of credit for this particular stitch as well. I'm just going to continue to double crochet across in like I have to, so you get your 3 in before jumping over. Okay, wrap and wrap, coming into the outside. So this is the space that you're going to go into, and then just bend it forward and get your final in. So I would do a scarf lengthwise like Daniel did. I think it would be really quite pretty to do it that way. But again, that's your choice if you're going to do that. So if you're doing an afghan, you might want to, and you're doing this for a bedspread, you might want the arrows to go up and down with the pillows, or you might want it to go across. It's up to you. Once you get your final in there, don't forget about that chain, and you're just going to double crochet. So this is the arrow stitch, and it's compliments of redheart.com. Thank you so much today. On behalf of redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd, have a fabulous day and enjoy the fun stitching of doing the arrow stitch. Until next time, I'm your host, Mikey.